What is happening, guys? Welcome to another episode of Comic Book Weekly. We're back after taking a week off. Brent said he is going to be on. He's just running a little bit behind. And, of course, you guys are with me, Mike Spider Slayer. Got my partner in crime over here, Cat Comic Uno.
Hello.
Pretty big week if you're in the Florida area. This week is actually MegaCon. So if you guys are going, I'm not going to be there. My daughter's got an actual dance competition this week, so I'm actually not going. And I would love to go this time because Todd McFarlane's going to be there.
Wow.
And he's signing. They put up his signing schedule that I noticed today, and he is signing on Thursday at 4:30 p.m. And then he's doing Friday and Saturday as well. So it's a pretty big deal. But
it's first in a while that you haven't gone, right?
What's that?
It's the first in a while that you haven't gone.
Like, I didn't go last year either for the same exact reason. Yeah, it's just my daughter's. This is her first dance competition of the season, so and it just seems like it takes place during MegaCon and the freaking Super Bowl. So it's like
right, the Super Bowl too. Wow.
So I'm gonna miss the Super Bowl too because her last dance is at like 9 o'clock at night, and then we have an awards ceremony. So, and it's like I said, it's in Jacksonville. So I'll probably watch some of the Super Bowl, but I'll have to watch it on my phone, So
yeah, no, that sucks. You know what sucks about, because I like sports, and as you guys know, I'm a big basketball fan. So I wish there was like a day where it's about like, oh, look at this basketball game. So it's so interesting. Like the one sport I'm not really into is football. So it's like crazy. That's the one that gets the big day. But like, I don't know if this is like so off topic, but like the Luka Doncic thing that happened this week, I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. But then anything about football, I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, football is just one of those sports where I think it's just like the most entertaining. So I think like that's why it gets all this attention, and it seems to be like
it's not long. You don't have to follow it for long because there's not as many games like basketball.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's just like it's not like 82 games.
No.
It's not like 100 and what's baseball, 162 games or whatever it is. It doesn't there's not much of it. So it's like every game means something. Everything is really big. So, and I'm a huge football fan. Yeah. So I mean, I love it. If I wasn't 5'7" and 150 pounds, I would play football. That's what I would do instead of teach tennis.
No, I know you're a huge football fan. I'm sorry that your team tends not to get into anything.
But... Yeah, I know. It's so frustrating, man. It's so aggravating.
Maybe one of these days. But yeah, no, it's on my Super Bowl, I'm gonna be watching an Oscar movie, and my favorite part of the Super Bowl is to get wings. So I'm going to be doing a wing party, and we're going to watch like an Oscar movie. So that is our plans for it.
Did you watch the Grammys?
I watched pieces of it. I didn't get to like the Oscars. I sit down and like it's an event for me, but the Grammys, I'm like, oh, I want to see the highlights, and like I like seeing like the Beyonce stuff. I want to get my Beyonce tickets, but I'm sure I won't. It'll be like the Taylor Swift stuff. But I saw like pieces of it. I saw like the Chappelle Rowan stuff. How about you? Did you watch it?
Yeah, I did. I did watch it. It was interesting to see like all these new performers and perform for the first time. Like my gosh, I mean, have we heard Sabrina Carpenter to death and just like all these other freaking people? But it was cool to actually see them perform live, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, you like appreciate them more because, like you said, like on the radio, you probably have seen, heard Espresso billions of times, but then you're like, oh, she's actually a good singer. I get, not that she's not a good singer, but you like think of her as like not just that one hit wonder. You're like, oh, it's cool to see her perform.
If I compared the two, though, Chappelle Rowan, I feel like is much more talented and much better entertainer than Sabrina Carpenter's by like light years, in my opinion.
Mine too. Sabrina's just not my flavor. I respect her, but like Chapel, like I respect. Like I can see why so many people like her. I think like Pink Pony Club will always forever be stuck in my head.
It's a great song. I actually really like it, and the actual like performance was amazing.
Yeah. The dancing was so good.
Yeah.
we're also stalling, guys, because we're seeing if Brant will be on, but I think we will start news. I hope you enjoyed our entertainment topics. We are going to talk about Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and we're going to talk about Fantastic Four in a couple of beats, but we are going to talk about some comic news. So first up, and again, some of this is from last week because we missed, but let's talk about the tariffs, right? Let's talk about that quickly because I don't think there's much to say, but just in case people don't know what's going on. There's tariffs. It's affecting all of America. We won't get into the politics of it, but it is affecting comics, which is why we're talking about it. And you might see that your comics are going to be more expensive. That really sucks.
Yeah. I mean, it might happen. We don't know for sure. There was an article on Bleeding Cool that said that the books could be more expensive because based off of how the printing is in Canada and it ships from Canada, that's what could raise the prices of comic books. Now, obviously, this article, when we were originally reading it, was printed when Trump actually said, hey, we're going to raise, tariffs 25%. There's going to be 25% tariff. And so obviously you're looking at worst case scenario. Now there's a 30-day delay in all that. So nothing is going to be affected anytime in the future. And I'm sure this is just a bargaining thing and we'll see what happens in the future. But if it was to happen, yeah, I'm probably pretty sure that honestly, your comics would become more expensive and a lot of other things would become more expensive.
Food?
Which means
I can only imagine if food's going to become so expensive.
Well, that's the Mexico thing. Now, same thing. There's a delay of 30 days, but if all this stuff goes and it becomes more expensive in the short term, then what happens is people are not going to spend money on comic books. So not only do comic books get more expensive, but they need to spend their money elsewhere. So it affects everything across the board,
And making comics too, that's going to be a big part. Like on our side, we're kind of biting our teeth. We're like, okay, we print this at this place and it's going to become more expensive. And that's why you're seeing those prices rise because I think a lot of people are going to be like, who don't understand the situation are going to be like, why is Marvel and DC being so greedy? And it's just like, well, in this situation, this scenario, it wouldn't be their fault.
Correct. Yeah. But nothing is happening as of right now. Don't know any real details. Nothing's in concrete. So, but it was an article that was brought up based off of the initial statement that Donald Trump said with the, kind of his original bargaining trip. And you can see that everybody now is starting to try to make peace. So we'll see what happens with that. Obviously, this is a stay tuned and we shall see type of situation.
Yeah, so we will see. Moving on to again, just talking about the comic industry. Vault is announcing a direct to retailer distribution option, which I thought was really cool because it's kind of like a Kickstarter model or a website model, except again, you're talking to retailers directly because obviously I think a lot of people are being angry about the Diamond situation. And they're like, well, how do we get our books into stores better? And I think this is really cool. I think this is really smart and I hope more people do it because wouldn't it be nice for these companies just to go directly to the comic book store? Obviously it's a lot of work, but I think that sounds like a better scenario to me. Obviously it has to do with capital, but let's say you have a Dynamite, right? And Dynamite has a warehouse. Wouldn't it be cool if they just sent their warehouse stuff directly to comic book stores? Obviously that brings a bit more of a cost because you're going to have to hire that person to do it and probably multiple people to do it. But I mean, I think it's a worthwhile investment.
It eliminates
what Vault is doing.
It eliminates the middleman.
Yeah.
That's what it does. So it's
they make more money too.
Right. It goes from me right to you, and we don't have to worry about anybody else, So it's just a matter of a company wants to take that, I don't know, that risk, I guess,
It's heavy asked, why didn't they do this before with, before Diamond? Again, I do think it's a risk. I agree. It's just you got to hire another person. You got to have someone knows who do that, to do that. And I'm sure there's other bargains and things that are good about being with a distributor. So I don't know. I think you would have to ask like the Marvels and DCs and why they didn't do that. But I just thought it was interesting that Vault is doing it and doing more direct to consumer and direct to retailer. All right, let's see. I want to see if there's any more like industry conversation.
I think was it Mad Cave or Massive or somebody going to Lunar?
Massive, I think it is. I see their name a lot, and I always forget what they publish. So I'm just like, I've never actually seen their comics.
They're one of the more pricier small publishers as well. They're like a lot of their books like tend to be like $6 also, kind of like Keen Spot, because they have so few books and it probably costs them so much money.
Yeah, to print them.
Yeah.
Just thinking about some of the grocery stuff with the tariffs. Reading some comments there. This is interesting. Huck is getting a long-awaited sequel, which that book came out like,
good Lord,
the beginning of when we were doing this. Like, I feel like
God, I mean, it's been years. Like, I'm telling you, like, shit, I want to say like 2012 or something like that. Like, it has to be that long at least.
Yeah, no, it's been. Let's look it up. Actually,
no, yeah, that's good. That's a good idea.
Comic book came out in 2016. Yeah.
Oh, really? It's a little bit. It's a little bit later than I thought. It just seems forever.
Yeah, no, it's later, but that's still like 8 years ago. So it's still been a while. And that does make me wonder, like, again, why did they wait so long? Is there an audience for this? I think Mark Millar will always have an audience. So I think that helps him in that regard. And I liked it. I remember liking the book, but I don't really remember much. Like, I remember he was like a Superman type character and he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. Remember.
Yep. He showed up in Mark Millar's Nemesis Big Game, I think it was. And
that wasn't that while, and that wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't that long ago, and he like wound up getting like blowing up or something like that. Yeah. It was pretty wild. So
I see a question which is definitely just more aimed at me, but do you believe that Caitlin Clark will get a comic book one day? I think everyone gets a comic book one day, if they like it or not.
In one way, shape, or form, it probably.
Because when you're a public image, it is legal to do. So you can do it. Like, I remember there was that Taylor Swift comic and like,
yeah.
Obviously she didn't agree to do it. It's just that she's a public figure. So it happens. So I'm sure one day it will happen. Next up is Marvel Spider-Verse versus Venomverse. What I thought was cool is that, Kyle Higgins, who we had on 2 weeks ago, he is writing this with his writing partner, I believe, Matt Groom, who's done stuff for the Massiveverse 2 and did the Ultraman thing, I believe. Luciano Vecchio, we've seen his art a lot too. It's kind of like a cartoony feel. That's the only reason I kind of want to pick it up. But in any other regard, I don't think I would want to. Because again, it's like I've seen this a billion times. And I'm like, oh, I like the creative team. So I guess.
Right. I mean, I'll get it just because it's Spider-Man and, but it's just like same thing. Like, when is Marvel just going to be like, enough is enough? Like, the concept is so like old at this point. It's like they keep saying, well, Dan Slott changed the Spider-Verse forever and he introduced this and now we have all this. But why do we need to see all these different versions of Spider-Man? Just freaking write Spider-Man and write good Spider-Man book. We don't need all these other different versions of the character,
Yeah, no, especially because it doesn't really like progress the plot. Usually it's just like, here's this wacky guy. And then he doesn't really do anything.
Right. It's like, here's this Spider-Man with 3 eyeballs. We'll call him Try-Man. And it's like, cool. It's like, what else can we come up with?
I would just hope, a long form story. That's all I care about. So we'll see. We'll be picking it up, but I don't think we're too excited for it. Dr. Doom has a Superior Avengers coming out, and I marked this down too, so I'm curious why I did. It was a little while ago, so but I'm sure there's like a character that was interesting.
It was whoever was in the roster, I think. This
Dr. Octopus, Ghost, Killmonger, Malkeith, Onslaught, and Abomination. I don't know why I marked this down because this does not.
I think it was Malachi. I think that's what it is from Thor, maybe. And then the octopus is the female Dr. Octopus.
Oh, is it? That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I want to know who's writing this. Let's see. The new team is led by Christoph Vinard, son of Victor Von Doom. I have not been following Fantastic Four, so I did not know he had a son.
I mean, I'll check it out just because it's something different, and it'd be interesting, like why he picked these characters to be his Avengers, Yeah,
I like that it's different too. I'll like you said, I'll try it out just for the sake of, I guess, reinventing that Superior brand again. It's like, oh man, we actually haven't had that in a while.
And it's cool. I mean, it gives you the sketch drawings of it. So like the dude with the shield, it says it's Abomination. And then there's the Dr. Octopus. And then there's says Ghost on there. Killmonger. And then there's is that Malachi? Yeah, that's Malachi. Then Onslaught. Yep. So I don't know, man. I think it could be different. Could be dumb, but it could be different too. It could surprise you. You never know.
The art looks cool, so I'll accept that. My dog's making a lot of noises. She just has her plate in her mouth for some reason, and it never means that she's hungry. It just means she literally likes to play in her
playing
mouth.
with it. Yeah,
exactly. All right, we have some Star Wars stuff. Let's talk about that. So Star Wars is relaunching. I'm friends with Alex Agora, so it's really cool just to see him doing so much. This is like such a big move, and then Phil Noto's been doing a lot of Star Wars. Like that's someone I'm not surprised by. But I do think the Star Wars needed this. I think it's been a while since they try reinventing themselves.
Yeah, I think this is, again, supposed to be like after Return of the Jedi and after that series that they just came out with. So I'll probably try it and just see, again, how it's going to be. I hope the artwork will be solid on it and it will be a decent story. And I'll try it. I'll definitely try it.
Oh man, we got some thoughts about the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I couldn't make through the second episode. Won't continue watching this horrible show. So we will talk about that.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that after all this.
Yeah, we'll get there. All right, moving on to Captain Planet comic. So this is by David Pepose, who is doing Space Ghosts. Also a friend of mine, and I mean, I just think this is cool because I think there's an opportunity to do a very Power Rangers thing, right? Power Rangers comic actually is a story. It actually like brings elements that the show could only scratch. So it's like, yeah, Captain Planet is not, it's a kid's show. So how do you make that more adult?
Well, kind of like how they did Space Ghost.
Yeah.
Space Ghost is like this cheesy, campy Space Ghost. And it's just like, it wasn't always my favorite cartoon when I was a kid, but now the comic book is really well done. It's just much more serious tone, but it tells a solid story, and you can't help feel for the pain of Space Ghost and like the loss of his kids and how Jenna and Jace became basically his new adopted family. And it's a really good book. So he's writing Captain Planet. Same thing. Captain Planet for me when I was younger was super cheesy. It's like this Sunday morning cartoon where I was like, it's nowhere near like Saturday morning cartoon, but I guess I'll watch it, So I'm anxiously awaiting to see what they'll do with this.
Yeah, no, I'm interested. So we will see. I'll definitely be picking that one up. All right, let's go into first ever DC All In Initiative event, which is We Are Yesterday. honestly, I feel like DC's been killing it with the all in absolute power stuff. So, and it's, I think they took their time to get to an event. I'm excited. I'm all in with this one. Mark Wade's on it. Good art. It looks like Dan Moore is going to be doing some art here too.
What is
So
it
yeah,
like? Within 3 issues or something like that? What is it?
I know it says it takes place in Batman Superman World's Finest, Justice League Unlimited, and Batman Superman World's Finest 2025 Annual. Yeah, so I think it's just 3, which also feels so nice.
That's not bad. So then you can definitely like, not be overwhelmed by it. So, I'll definitely check it out. I mean, All In for the most part has been a success. When you look at the state of DC Comics from this year to last year at this time, it's way better at this point. Way better.
Oh yeah, I think most of their stuff is, again, felt connected and good storytelling. I've been liking it. So let's get into the next thing, which is, I'll talk about Concert of Champions, just because I don't know, it kind of sounds silly and fun, where it's just like they're seeing their characters.
So silly. I saw this. I'm like, man, they got to come out with something else where people are just going to sing the entire time.
Dazzler, we got Gwen. I won't say I think it's gonna be the best book ever, but I'm like, this
is gonna be the worst book ever. I just can't. There's like, it was bad enough that they had it in Dazzler, right? And it was like a couple pages, but like I can see this like being the whole comic book. Singing. And when you come out with your own lyrics, it's like, how do you even put that in your head of how it's supposed to sound like? You know what I'm saying?
And obviously, like, I'm guessing for the most part, people making lyrics are not musicians. So it's like, oh yeah, it's just like a writer making these lyrics, but
right,
like they're not musicians trying to do it. But we'll see. I'm interested. Maybe it'll blow our minds. If it's all just singing, I don't know how that's gonna work. I hope there's some sort of like adventure.
What they could do? They could be creative, kind of just like Radiant Black, and put a QR code on there and sit there and say, okay, this is what it would sound like if it was, the real deal. That would be actually a little bit different, but
and I'm surprised that Marvel doesn't do, like, again, Radiant Black doesn't have as much money as Marvel and DC, and they're doing like cartoons and stuff like that. Like, yeah, Marvel, you got the money to give us a song, give us like do something cool, and innovative. More people buy that book.
Throw in a little album in there. That would be fun. Can you imagine them bringing back comic books with the albums in it? Because vinyl is back, man. So it's like, why not bring those back?
I would love that personally, because I just like, again, I think that's innovation. That's like getting people excited. But I do sometimes think the big two kind of like cut corners. They're like, we just want to release the book and that's it. And it's just like, why not do something innovative and fun and get more people to buy the book?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%.
All right. We are moving on to Marvel announces Wolverine Kitty Pryde issue 1, the sequel. And this is by Chris Claremont. If you guys know, this is literally one of my favorite comics of all time. So I'm very excited for this to see what they're going to bring with Ogun and Kitty Pryde and everything. So I'm all in for this one.
So he did the last series, right? So when those two were together, the one from last
which was
year,
a long time ago. But this is, I think, a direct sequel. I think it's like a direct sequel to that. I think before it's like Adventures of Kitty and Wolverine. This time it's like this is the direct sequel to that series.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that'll be interesting. Are you going to get that? Or you were like, I didn't really care for the original?
It was like, I don't have so much attachment to the original, but I might try it. I don't know. It's weird. Chris Claremont writing today doesn't hit me the same as it did when 20 years ago. You know what I'm saying? When he was doing like all the X-Men, or 30 years ago when he was doing all that original X-Men stuff.
I think because he doesn't really write a lot of stories that change like the main storyline. He writes a lot of like Lost episode stuff. So I don't think Lost episodes can hit hard because like, what are you doing with the character that wouldn't affect the future character? So I think those are a little hard.
Correct. Makes sense.
All right. We are, I think the last two were brands. So this is just us for the new Spider-Man villain. We were actually going to talk about this last week. And yeah, there's a new Spider-Man villain. I'm going to try screen sharing so you guys could see what this guy looks like. And of course, he's like a little secretive because that's what they tend to do, is like, who is this guy? And honestly, he reminds me of any other Spider-Man villain. I don't think there was anything new. The description, let me see if let me actually
what does it say?
The description is the character is a mysterious adversary hell-bent on Spidey's destruction with unclear motives but formidable in strength. Like, that's every character we've ever seen with these new Spider-Man villains. Because you had that with the one from Spencer's run, whatever his face was, starts with a K. Kindred. We had that. And then again,
but it wasn't actually a new character. It was a fake character, right?
And the Goblin Queen too. Like, I remember really liking her. And then they're like, oh, actually, we're not going to do anything with her.
Dr. Kafka was that. Yeah. But I still like the concept of the character, you know, like the way she looks. This character looks more like
Thor character.
Is it Ares? Is that who the bad guy is? That was in like the Dark Avengers and all that stuff. He kind of looks like that. But listen, I mean, at least you're trying to introduce a new adversary. Now, whether it's somebody that we already know, again, time will tell. But at least you're trying to do something different, and it's not a goblin character, right? So that's a little bit different. And again, Joe Kelly could write a great story. You know, this story could be obviously this 8 Death story. It's kind of like that placeholder story because he's in the process of making his ongoing series now. So, and let's hope that it's great. I'm going to be optimistic because I honestly don't think it could get any worse than what we just got. My personal opinion here.
Yeah, I'm trying. Did anyone come out this week? I don't even remember.
Spider-Man?
Yeah.
No.
I don't think so.
No.
I was like, did it come out last week and we didn't talk about it? So I'm trying to remember what even happened last week.
Oh man. That was the one with the black cat one. That's the one we missed.
Oh, we didn't talk about that.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that.
So it was so interesting about that issue because my biggest problem was like, did Peter cheat? Because in my opinion, he kind of did. And some people
I don't think so. They broke up.
Exactly.
Like,
some people said they broke up.
She's like, this is like the Friends episode. We were on a fucking
exactly
break. That's exactly what this was. So she said bye, and he was feeling down, and he kissed her. They didn't do anything else besides that.
Well, I mean, it's Marvel Comics. You don't know if they did anything else. They got to cut away before.
Right? Or we should have made it a red band edition. Anyway, I mean, listen, I rather him out of any woman in Marvel Comics because they'll never put Mary Jane and them together. If he's going to be with somebody, I don't mind him being with Black Cat. I've always said that.
I don't mind either. I think if you can't have Mary Jane, Black Cat is great. But I also don't think that Marvel will follow through with Black Cat. And I also think, why not just do that in the first place? Like, I don't understand why we had this Shay character. And again, like, the breakup was so weird. She just like, I hate you now. And it's just like, what did he do? It was just so weird. And honestly, I do wish there was like, I'm breaking up with you. It does, because like, honestly, it did kind of just sound like a fight of like, you need to get your life together. But also, they also seemed like they weren't dating for very long. So maybe it was just like, all right, I told you off. I'm just kind of done. Yeah, it was all really strange. It was weird writing. Because I agree, like the results were fine. Like if he ends up with Black Cat, great. But it's just weird.
Yeah, I mean, it was. But at the end of the day, I was like, good, hook up with Black Cat. Because I feel like she brings out that edginess in Peter. Like, she not forces him, but brings out a little bit of that darker side of Peter that normally he would not do, you know? I think it brings out a better character, not so much the down and out of my luck type of character. And that's what it kind of like I was hoping for when I read that issue, Like, I wanted him to hook up with her so he gets out of this funk that he's in, and feels better about himself and knows that he has an ally. I think that's what's always been so good about Black Cat, because the thing is okay, if I can't be with Mary Jane and she's not a superhero, well, Black Cat kind of is, and she can relate to him going through the struggles of being a hero and being in tough spots. And that's what I always liked about her. And now that you got Mary Jane as a hero too, you're kind of like, well, now he can also be with Mary Jane because there's no more excuse anymore. But still, I don't feel like she's still been through the trials and tribulations of Peter, even though she was stuck in this time dimension with fucking Paul,
Like
so
somehow still relevant.
right.
Yeah, no, I like Black Cat. I think she's such a fun character. But I don't. I also agree. Old school Spidey, the love triangle was the main angle. I don't think the editors will allow anything past it. And I think it's just too much, too good to be true type situation. Again, whatever's going on editorial in that regard, I think I don't know. I don't know why Peter can't be happy and Peter can't be with someone that the audience likes, right? Like I want to see character story. I want to say if we see Black Cat and Peter together, I want to see them lift each other up or bring each other down, whatever.
Yeah.
Do something.
This is a good comment. It says, again, you guys know nothing will change. Why are you guys still reading Spider-Man? So we always say that Spider-Man has always been one of our favorite heroes, and that's why we read it, whether it's good or bad. And at this point, I want to say that this is your guilty pleasure comic.
100%.
This is just one of those books where it's like you want to read it just to see how the train wreck happens.
Took the words out of my mouth. Like, obviously I don't want to see a burning fire, but sometimes like, all right, if the fire is there, I guess I'm gonna watch, because it's like your reality show trash at this point where it's just like, all right, I'm having like, it's not, I'm just like popcorn flicking it, and obviously it sucks as a Spider-Man fan. I want more, but I have Ultimate Spider-Man for that. At this point, I'm just like, now I can really just have fun with Amazing Spider-Man, because I have another Spider-Man story I'm reading monthly that I enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we are moving on to our main topics: friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and Fantastic Four. I will message Brant and see how he's doing, just in case he might have messaged us. Let's see. He did not. I just got another message, so let me message him, and then we will get into friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. So, interestingly enough, I watched it because I was doing my newsletter. Go check out my newsletter. It's Lifeline Comics. Cat and Phil. We have a good time there. And I always like talking about some media stuff and like new stuff coming out, and New Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man was coming out soon. So I was like, oh, let me make sure I know the date. That way I can use it for the newsletter. So I watched it, and I was kind of pleasantly surprised. I know a lot of people were talking about the show and different aspects that they didn't like about it. But I was like, oh, let me give it a shot. And then I told Mike, I'm like, oh, it came out. You should watch it. And I thought it was really solid. Like, I think there's a lot of potential here. I like that it has a little flavor of the MCU, but it doesn't fully feel like that. I like his supporting cast members being a little different. I love Nico. As a Runaways fan, I think Tombstone being like the Flash Thompson character is pretty cool. There's a lot of twists and turns, honestly. Like, there's some good stuff with Norman Osborn. I think there's a lot of potential to the series. Like, I like the differences they did here.
Yeah, I think it is different. It's not so like cookie cutter. I think it makes it a little bit unpredictable, but yet it still does have a familiar tone to it. Like, I love the style, the animation. I didn't know what I would think about it at first, but it does have this very like Steve Ditko vibe to it, right? I mean, you look at Peter, the way he looks, he's got the old-fashioned like haircut and glasses, the coloring, how they try to make it like a comic book, all those different things is what makes it unique. And that's what I like about it. Now, this series is not canon. It's its own thing. It's its own little twist. And I think what I like is that I like how it is different. And you can be like, ooh, who is this character? Is the character going to be different? Is it going to be the same? Who's, like when I first saw Tombstone, Lonnie, I was like, oh shit. I'm like, that's Tombstone.
And
And
he's
then I
friends
was
with
like,
Peter.
and then I saw Dr. Connors. I'm like, oh damn, it's a female in here. I'm like, that's completely different. And then seeing Nico and Amadeus Cho and just seeing all these different characters before they were superheroes or villains. Like you saw Harry and you saw Norman, and it was just interesting that way. And it makes you want to see that journey on why they become the characters that they will become in the future.
And I like the balance too of like, what I miss from Spider-Man comics is like you get a little Peter Parker, you get a little like science-y, you get Spider-Man. And this show did a good job at that. Like I think we get just as much Peter Parker as you do Spider-Man, and it all blends together and it feels pretty classic. I think try not to listen to the naysayers. People just they don't like change, and that's kind of it. I didn't give the show a chance. I genuinely, I really thought it was gonna be a younger audience thing. Like, I don't know. And like even the first 10 minutes, like, I don't know if this is me for me. And
Yeah.
then as you get more into the twists and turns and more into the characters, I'm like, you know what? This is fun. This is gonna be like it's cool to have Spider-Man on a weekly basis.
Yeah, absolutely. And it definitely has this again, this unique feel to it. And I like that it's a little bit different, but it does feel similar at the same in the same fashion, you know? Um It's like Peter kind of feels like the MCU Peter. The voice is similar. Aunt May is kind of like the MCU, but again, that vibe that you get there when you're watching it feels like a comic book, and it's a catchy tune. It's just it was enjoyable. I found myself really intrigued by the time I got to the end of the story of the second issue, and what you find out at the end of that. I said issue show at the end of the show of the second episode. You're like, oh shit. You're like, really?
That makes things interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, cliffhangers are good. And I saw a comment from Tevia saying, like, where's Mary Jane? I'm like, it's the part I liked it. I love Mary Jane. Mary Jane's my girl, but I'm just like, give me something new. Give me like different characters that interact with me. Because honestly, we've seen the Mary Jane show, we've seen the Gwen show. They've done that 10,000 times. And it's just like, I want something different. Someone mentioned, do you think Miles will be there? I think you could add so many different characters because you could also tell that this is just like the foundation to maybe like, oh, Nico's going to do something. Obviously, Tombstone's going to do something. Like they're just going to grow. That's usually where these shows go.
Yeah. You got this Pearl girl that was in there, and you can see he had wanted excuse me, he wanted a relationship with her, and then look who winds up hooking up with her. So
and
it's
who
like
knows who she is? She could be anyone.
You don't know who she is. And the thing is maybe based off of what happens to Lonnie, they break up and maybe Peter has a relationship with her, and that causes a rift between their relationship.
Yeah.
So, and again, that's what I like about it. It's not as predictable. I don't think I want such a predictable show. And I think that's what makes it unique, you know?
100%. I'm sticking by it. I'm gonna watch it weekly, so I'm excited about it. And it's so short. It's like you can watch it with lunch. Yeah, it's like there's nothing and there's no binging. Love that too. Like I love the idea is like I can just like spend half an hour while I eat lunch and watch show. It's not a very high commitment.
Like I don't understand like where the hate is. Is it because the characters are gender swapped, or because they're black, or like what is, I mean,
that was the issue that most people has like because the actor said, oh, the show is not as woke as you think it would be. And I think most people are like, oh, he had like PR training and they were just trying to like diffuse whatever they were trying to do. And he said the wrong thing. And now people are like, it's a woke show. And it's just like, it is a show of real people who live in life and live in New York City. Like it's not a woke show just because you have a queer character that talks about Nico, who is a queer character in the comics, who talks about a crush on a girl, or you having a black character, or you having an Asian character. That is our life. And it should be. Diversity is important. So people just
she even said in the show, she's just like, you better act on it or I am.
Yeah.
Like she put that out there in the show that she wanted to be with Pearl if Peter wasn't going to, try to be with her.
And it was so seamless too, because like people are like, "Oh, you got to do representation right," and I'm like, I agree. Like, make it organic, make it a part of the character. And I thought the show did a great job at it. It's like, oh, cool, she's queer. And again, Nico's known to be queer already. So it's not like you're recreating a character. It's just like people just want to be pissed off.
And I like her and Peter's friendship in the show. I think it's really well done. And it's a friendship that you wouldn't normally expect,
Yeah, especially like again, you don't really see it in a show like this. A girl and a guy are just best friends. Just so happen to be best friends. Here they are, and they're just going to school together. Like, I think that's really great representation too.
Right. Dynamite says the great power / great responsibility angle is completely lost with this version. I don't think we've quite gotten to that yet, though. I don't think he knows what that is at this point. All he knows is that he has these powers. He doesn't even have the real suit yet, and he's just taking on random bad guys. So he hasn't experienced great loss. So I feel like once he experiences that loss, right, that's when great power comes great responsibility.
And who knows, maybe that will end up happening. I think they mentioned Uncle Ben here. I think it was very quick when they mentioned him. So we'll see what ends up happening. All right, let's move on to Fantastic.
Here's a good one. Infamous Mike Manhattan goes, I can't wait till Paul appears.
Or maybe Pauline. You know what? You're right. It could be gender swapped. That is going to be in episode 3. Actually, I heard it's going to be great. But we'll probably talk about the show again when it all wraps up. We'll have a conversation about it. But yeah, Fantastic Four teaser came out. I think there was controversy about this too. I don't even know what that was about. There's something about the release of it. I know. I don't know what happened.
I didn't even know if there was.
Yeah, there was somebody. Let's see. Fantastic Four trailer controversy. I don't think it had to do with the trailer itself. I think it had to do with like how they released it.
Is it because of the other movie that's coming out next week?
I think it has to do with AI. It looks like they used AI in this movie. I don't know. You guys tell us in the comments what that's about. I saw like I think Gail Simone shared it and it's like, what are you talking about? There's controversy about this too. So I saw like Facebook or something, but also it's Facebook, so don't trust everything Facebook says. But yeah, the trailer I thought was really solid. It's very different than what you see with your average Fantastic Four, but that's what Marvel does great, is showing us different genres, and it's cool to kind of get this era. And it seems like everyone's really in character. I really especially like the guy from The Bear who plays the Thing. I'm like, oh man, that's perfect casting. So yeah, I'm excited. I'll see the movie.
Dude, when I saw this, I was like, wow, this reminds me of like WandaVision, because it kind of had that similar vibe. This show takes place in like the 60s. Yeah. That's what I liked about it. It was just so different and so unique. And I love the score. Just everything about it was great. The Thing, he looked amazing. Like Robbie the robot was great. I loved it. And then honestly, when I saw the shadow of Galactus there, I was like, no freaking way. I'm like, that's awesome, man. And obviously, since this does take place in the 60s, somehow they're going to take a time jump to make it current with the MCU, or how it's going to all tie in with Doctor Doom and Secret Wars and all that other stuff.
Realities too, like I'm sure, and Fantastic Four in particular, the multiverses, I think will play a big part. So, good stuff. I haven't been excited for a Marvel movie in a while, and this is one where I'm like, I'm genuinely looking forward to seeing it, because like Captain America, the new one, I'm like, I'm excited to see Red Hulk, but I've seen 20 Captain Americas already. I didn't even watch the Captain America TV show, so I'm like, I've already seen it.
I'm excited about like this movie coming out, on the 15th or whatever, or 14th. And when I saw the trailer, I'm like, wow, this looks actually pretty good. I'm like, this probably looks like the best Marvel movie in quite some time. But then when I see this Fantastic Four trailer, I'm like, this shit just seems like next level to me.
Yeah.
right? So, and I think that movie is super, super important for them to set things up. And I think it needs to be, A plus 100%. They got to hit the nail on the head for that one.
Oh yeah, they screw this one up. It's gonna be a tough one for Marvel. But yeah, that's all the news. Before we jump in, I do have some Kickstarters going on. We'll mention that. I did see the chat with Brant. He said he's not feeling well, so he tried, and he's like, I don't think I'm making it. We'll see, but I have a feeling I'm not gonna make it. So, but yeah, let's talk about some Kickstarters, and then we're gonna go. Oh, and we could talk about that too. Do you think Fantastic Four movie will beat Superman? No, I don't know. I really don't think so. I think Superman is just like more generational. I think a lot of older people are going to be really, because it's the Christopher Reeves kind of homage. So I do think Superman's going to do better. And this is coming from the Marvel fan.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one, man. When does Superman come out?
July as well.
They both so it's July. Like the same time. Oh man, that's a battle. No. That is a huge battle right there.
It's the Barbenheimer. I don't know if it's the same week though. So let's see. I think Superman's like closer to like July 4th. Well, let's see. Superman 2025 release date is July 11th, and then Fantastic Four release date. Yeah, so they have a little bit of time between. So I think the weeks. Superman will die down a little bit at the point of Fantastic Four being released.
Right. It'll be interesting to see what movie gets what's the top spot, but I think people are jonesing for that really good Superman movie. I mean, that when that trailer was released, everybody was talking about that shit. Like,
more than Fantastic Four.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because again, we've had a lot of great Marvel movies already. It's like kind of to be expected. Fantastic Four is not a household name. Superman is. Like, I think about like my dad who grew up with like a lot of old school superhero stuff, and he likes seeing the Marvel movies. He'll see Fantastic Four, but Superman, I'm gonna like take him to the movie.
Superman's like Superman. It's like it's like Spider-Man. You know what I'm saying? Like Fantastic Four, yeah, I think it's popular. Like it's the first family, but Superman is the man. You know?
Yeah, Superman will make about 750 million. We'll see. Fantastic Four will at least make 750 million. So they're saying that they think Superman's guaranteed, but Fantastic Four might. Cool. Let's get to some Kickstarters, and then we're gonna talk about some comics. So I have my Little Mermaid book out for another 2 weeks or so. It is about the story after the Little Mermaid and what happens when you're unsatisfied with your happily ever after. And it's pirates, it's adventure, it's love. And what's cool about this comic is that if you don't want to read a not safe for work comic, we actually have a safe for work version too. And you actually get to see differences in it. You get some blood, you get some sex, and you have a different story in the safe for work stuff. Like different little details. Obviously, it's the same plot, but you get like different takes from the different versions. So go check it out. We have a Terry Moore cover as well. Super proud of that one, and it's doing well. We're almost, I think, at like, we're close to $60,000, which is kind of crazy.
Impressive.
Yeah, it's really cool. So go check it out. We're going to talk about some comics. Another week where I don't think that many big books really came out. I was telling Mike, tomorrow I'm only getting like 7 books. So tomorrow is really bad. But then after that, we're saying, it gets back to normal after. But, I think.
I think like this week was another week of just like delays. Yeah. So I think a lot of people, at least in my shop, my independent books were delayed. There was no DC books. Like, Jesus, man, it's been a frustrating couple of weeks. And, but I wound up getting the independent books that my shop did get. And then obviously reading the Marvel books that came out. So I don't like when there's 2 separate weeks where there's like no DC books or no Marvel books. Like, I hate that. That sucks. But anyway, let's dive into it. So let's talk first about X-Men issue 10. So this was a standoff between the guy named Lindquist, who's the X Factor guy, right? Mm-hmm. And Cyclops here, and he's threatening like the government with his Hellions to destroy everything. And and things like that, while the other guy's like has the gun pointed to his head, and that's basically what the issue was. And it was kind of just like, who's going to submit first, and I don't know. I feel like there was some foreshadowing too there with Quentin Quire saying, hey, if I die, Jean Grey's going to come pissed off as the Phoenix, and you're going to have to take care of her. So I feel like there's a foreshadowing there that Cyclops is going to die.
It could. I feel like this series in particular is in a weird spot because I do also feel like it's kind of waiting for that Professor Xavier arc that's coming up. So it does feel a little bit like it's stalling for time, and I got a little bit of that. But no, those character beats are interesting. I think also what, for me personally, this is not like, I don't care about Cyclops or Quentin Quire that much. So it's just like, oh man. And then I read Uncanny. I'm like, I like these new characters. I think Rogue has a good personality. I like Wolverine. So like, I just feel like that's more my series than this one. But I do think this series means something. I remember with Krakoa, there would be some series out there like the flagships, and I'm just like, who is the target, right?
Well, you couldn't find out, like, it all started tying together, so it was like, where do I even begin?
Yeah.
So,
and then also like there's characters that like the overlap. There would be like Wolverine is in 6 titles, and it's just like, well, why? He could just need to be in the one.
right.
So I think like even if this is not my X-Men book, it holds a space. But Uncanny is just more of my X-Men book.
Yeah, I mean, Uncanny last issue that was out, I think we didn't talk about that one either. Is I don't know if we did or not, but the kids wind up going to a mall, and you got those sentinel dogs going after them, and I wasn't a fan of that either. Like, I was like, come on, man, like, it's the best that we got. We got some robot dogs going after these kids, like, and I feel like the book is starting to lean real heavily on these kids, and I just feel like they just need their own book.
I think they're leading towards that, and I would like to see that too. But I like the kids. I don't know. I'm enjoying them, and I felt like that issue felt like classic
Let them
X-Men.
have their own book then. But I just feel like it's too much. There's too many characters. There's too many. It's like
they killed one of them off.
Right, I got Wolverine. Yeah, I got Wolverine in there. I got Rogue in there. I got Gambit in there. I got Nightcrawler in there. And I got Calico in there. I got the one kid that just got killed. And then I got another one. And it's just like there's all these characters, and there's just not enough time. And that's kind of like almost why I did this mall issue, so they could get their own like panel time. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's still, I'm not sold on that book. It was just like, I like the one character. I feel like they should all die except Calico. I feel like for me, she is the one character that definitely shows promise in the X-Men group.
Because they built her a little bit more. She has a backstory. She, like, you get to see her struggles. I think they tried a little bit more with what seems like they're going to do a romantic relationship between her and that other girl. Again, the other one died, which was kind of interesting. There's a character that kind of died in the end, or at least got stabbed. But I do agree with Mike Manhattan. If they had their own book, no one would buy it because there is no connection yet. And I think that's why they're buying so much time here. They're like, we want you to like these characters because then maybe if they have their own book, you'd buy it. I don't know if they're doing a great job at it yet, but like you said, I think Calico Elise is a cool character, and I want to see where she goes.
Right. Gotcha. All right. So we'll see where X-Men goes in the near future. Next, I'll talk about TMNT issue 6. I really wish Brant was on here to talk about this one because this was the best issue of the series for me to date. Yeah, this one was really, really good because the Turtles, they were actually separated, and each issue focused on a particular turtle. And eventually now in this issue, they've all gotten back together. They've all made their way back to New York, and they still like hate each other for whatever reason, why it's not really explained, but they all hate each other. They don't get along. Freaking Donatello, who's not sure if you know this, but he's like the techie turtle. He was kept in captivity for a while. He's all skinny, thin. He's like freaking mental. He talks to Splinter. in his brain with a dead rat. It's just like it's so good though, and it has a lot of emotion. There's a new ongoing artist in there that draws these turtles like amazing, like the best artwork I have seen an artist do turtles in a very long time.
It's TMNT issue 6.
Yeah.
You want to see what the art looks like?
And it's just really, really good. And I had a absolute blast reading this. So they give him a lot of character, like facial expressions, facial features, and different things like that.
I see the spinning TMT a lot. Like I'm seeing the art. Like I was like, oh, that's because I was seeing Batman and Robin, Green Arrow. Oh, I must have seen who this artist is already. I see, the grittiness, but also cartooniness. I think it fits really well.
So I really liked it. So this was the best issue for me in my opinion. TMNT is really starting to come together, enjoying the series. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe there's an existing unused title that works for the kids, New Mutants. That's what we were calling it. That's what we said for a while. New Mutants. All right. Hopefully, we'll see. But then again, does anybody want to buy another freaking mutant book? Because there's so many of them out there.
And the New Mutants has such a fan favorite. I want my New Mutants. It's just like,
yeah, right. Yeah. Ileana's a new mutant, not this person. All right, so let's now talk about Green Lantern issue 19. So my biggest issue with this, and it's not horrible, but the artwork is a little bit
wonky. Yeah, brought it down a little bit.
Features are just, they all kind of look the same, and there's these weird uncomfortable poses that Carol does, and it's just kind of a little bit off for me. But the story itself, I really enjoy it. Like I'm so curious to see what's going to happen with the Sorrow Lantern, if they're going to be able to put this battery together. The spectrum is not right because it's only the Green Lanterns that are around right now. So it's very unstable. And I love how all the other lanterns are in this also. And it's going to lead into the Lantern Corps with issue 1, which is coming out next week, not tomorrow, but like next week. So
nothing is coming out tomorrow.
Right. I'm excited for it.
No, yeah, I mean, I am too. I really love what's going on in Green Lantern. Everything feels connected. And I agree. The artwork was the only thing that really brought it down. But I loved Carol. I like the Sorrow Lantern stuff. I do feel like she should fight that battle, and hope she ends up doing that. But I also like, her just exploring her superhero stuff. Good movement. I always say this. It really reminds me a lot of what Jeff Johns was building in Green Lantern.
I agree. It definitely has
that spin-offs too.
Yeah, and I definitely has that vibe, and I think he probably understands what the people probably really liked with the Lantern characters. So I think he's definitely playing off of that. Yeah. I mean, that's why I liked. I mean, I read Green Lantern when I was a kid in the 90s, but my getting back into comics, it was Jeff Johns' run that made me read Green Lantern again. So I like what he's doing here and how he's building it up again. So really great stuff here. So with that being said, let's go to number 5. So what's your number 5?
My number 5 is a book you do not read. You Never Heard of Me, issue 2. It's an indie book from Dark Horse. It's about this kid who could kind of see the past and present and future of what bad is going to happen to a person. And they focus on like one specific person and what she's dealing with, and like this friendship the main character makes with her. It's just fun. It's like classic YA stuff that sometimes you just need a palate cleanser to have, and I'm having a good time with it.
Cool. Is Moon Knight, the Fist of Khonshu, issue 4. I'll say it every time. Jed MacKay knows how to write the Moon Knight series. Any book that he's currently writing right now, X-Men, Avengers, Moon Knight is where it's at for him. He gets it. He gets the character. Moon Knight is trying to deal with this guy that's pushing drugs, this type of drug that's highly addictive, and if you don't keep at it, you'll just die. And he's struggling within himself to decide what he wants to do, if he wants to take on this character, right? Or does he want to stay by himself, isolate himself, don't work with the other people that he's working with? He's having conversations with his other personalities. Very interesting comic. I had a blast actually reading it. And at the end, it looks like he's going to wind up confronting this enemy. And so I was like, I'm on board with this. So it's a really, really solid read.
It's cool when a creator has the opportunity to do a long run, even if it's like different volumes, but to have Jim McKay on this character for so long and to be able to do so many different things with it, I think is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got a chance to really, flesh out the character, and you don't see that too often,
Yeah.
So it's like he's been writing Avengers. We're 20 something issues into Avengers, but I just don't see a direction with that comic. So I don't know.
With Black Cat, I was sad with that.
Well, yeah, and I think we're going to get the new issue of Black Cat tomorrow, but I just think like maybe things got messed up for him. Maybe because originally everything was supposed to be around Kang, and we haven't seen Kang in a long time, and then you had Blood Hunt that interrupted the series. So and then it's just like, and then we do these one-off stories, and it just, I don't know, man. It doesn't seem like it has any real direction. I think that's the problem with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's why I dropped it a while ago, and then I was like, oh, let's see what's going on. And I read it. I was like, oh no, I think it's okay. I dropped this.
All right, so let's talk. I'll talk about Nightclub. Nightclub 2, issue 5. This is an independent comic book where we're at the penultimate issue. One of the main characters by the name of Amy is trying to resurrect her friends because she needs their help to try to stop the enemy vampires. And it was just a really decent book just to see her do her best to try to resurrect these characters. It's been a solid series all the way through. I've always said read Nightclub. I don't think you'll be disappointed. The first volume was phenomenal, learning to get the origin story of these characters. And now we get to see them deal with an adversary in this. And it's so good, man. I absolutely love it. I can't wait to see what happens after issue 6, the final issue, if there actually will be a third volume. I love these adventures with these kids. So
yeah, well, I feel like Mark Millar loves continuing his series, so I feel like you might get some continuations.
Right, yeah. And then we have, let's talk about this one first. Superman Lex Luthor Special, issue 1. This was a one shot that I knew had potential because Joshua Williamson was writing it. And he currently writes Superman. And we most recently
Superman too. Like
and
it's pretty much an issue of Superman.
Right. And then we most recently got the issue of Lois Lane too.
Which was great.
With her powers, which was good. So I thought that this was going to be pretty good, and this definitely delivered. I really enjoyed this story of Lex Luthor possibly getting his memories back through the power of music. And it's so true because as a human being, music reminds you of a lot of stuff and situations that has happened throughout your life. And I absolutely enjoyed this issue.
And I liked that you get these hints of Lex coming back, because obviously he's a villain. He probably will come back, but there's this other life he had where he was happy and he's like, I don't want to be that person. And it's very Green Goblin. It's very Gold Goblin, but it does feel very different all at the same time. And I think that's what Williamson has done such a good job at, is that your mustache twirling, not that Lex Luthor is a two-dimensional character, but he's a villain, he's a bad guy. And to see like different dimensions of him and Doomsday has just been so fascinating. Again, it goes back to, it's everything you love about Superman, but it's like at level 2. Like it's just doing stuff that's different, but also not feeling unfamiliar. And when's the last time you read a one shot and it felt like it mattered? Like you read this and you're like, this matters.
I agree. Like it's like these one shots, a lot of the times you're just like, they mean nothing. But this really helped you get an understanding of like kind of like the psyche right now of what Lex Luthor is going through. And is it a must read? No. but I think it definitely adds to the Superman story if you're currently reading it.
And I still kind of stand by this, but I think Superman is the best superhero book out right now. And again, I've been singing Superman's praises. I'm not a hardcore Superman fan.
Yeah.
I normally don't even read the series. So it takes a lot to be like, wow, this is the best superhero book on stands right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree. I look at the Marvel books and I sit there and I was going through doing my videos the other day and I was already recorded my top 10 most anticipated for the week that's coming out on Friday. And I think I made a statement. I'm like, I think there's like 4 Marvel books that I look forward to
Yeah.
every month right now. And I think one is Moon Knight. I got Deadpool. I got what was it? Moon Knight, Deadpool, Ultimate Spider-Man, The Ultimates, and I think right now that's it. And
Yeah.
but when you look at DC side of things, like there's a lot of books there that I look forward to, and Superman is just higher up there right now, and it's written so well. It's so enjoyable. And but to say that about Marvel having only like 4 books, like, yeah, Ultimate Wolverine just came out, but that's only been 1 issue. Like, I'm still on the fence about if that's going to be a good series or not. Plus, it's an Elseworld book. It's not a main universe book. Superman is main universe,
And has
so
things that affect other things. There's so many DC titles I'm really enjoying right now, and even to the smaller ones. Like, and I don't think you continue reading it, Mike. But like, Question, a book like you don't need to necessarily read, but it's like, wow, this is like a fun like who done it, but it also connects to the DC universe. But also it's a Renee Montoya book. Like, it's like that's what you want from a Question book. Does everyone need to read it? No, but if you're a Question fan, it's everything you would want from it. And I think that DC's been doing a great job with that. And I'll say Marvel, the last time I remember them doing something like that was like something like Hellcat. Like reading that, I was like, this is for Hellcat fans. And sometimes that's okay. You could just write it for the Hellcat fans. And I don't think they do that very often anymore. Like you're reading like Incredible Hulk and it's just spinning its wheels.
yeah.
You're obviously reading Spider-Man is doing its thing. And I'm just like, I just want to like love a book. And I agree. I love 2 books. I love Exceptional X-Men because it's the love letter to Kitty Pryde. And I love Ultimate Spider-Man because it's the love letter to Spider-Man. And other than that, I kind of take or leave anything else. Like I'm obviously reading other Marvel books, but everything else, I'm like, if you force me to drop them, besides Amazing Spider-Man, I'll never drop it. I probably could drop them.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not that the Marvel books are absolutely horrible.
They're neutral. That's it.
Yeah, they're just there. They're just kind of like, "Oh, okay." But then like 2 weeks later, you're just kind of like you forget about it. Like there's nothing there that's next level, right? Like so you talk about next level comic books, right? When you talk about DC and you talk about say Superman, right? Or that first issue of Aquaman or maybe Green Lantern, right? And you look at those and those seem to be at a higher level.
Yeah.
But then take it even a step higher when you look at some of the independent comic books,
Sure.
right? And so we all have our different flavors when it comes to independent comics. But say, for instance, like for me, Feral, right?
Yeah.
Look at what happened at that last issue. I mean, that's like freaking page turner movie style of comic. You look at, for me, Geiger, Rook Exodus, you look at those types of books and those are the ones that you look forward to reading every single time it comes out. Transformers, right? Where a few years back, you would want that. You would expect that from your Marvel books. And it's not like that anymore. It's not
And
even
you want to see a
close.
plot progress. I think that's the hardest part with Marvel. I don't feel like there's any plot half the time. It's just like, here's action. Here they are. Like, I think New Champions is a great example of that, which I didn't hate it, but I remember reading it and just be like, this feels like every other first issue I've ever read. It's like, here, introduce these characters. Here's some action. Here's somewhat of a cliffhanger, but it's not like gonna make you want to buy issue 2, but I guess I'll buy issue 2. And I feel like a lot of series have been like that for Marvel, where it's like, here's the action piece, here's like characters talk, but it doesn't really mean that much.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to dog on them because like again, I also don't think they're bad. I just like want to love it. I want to like be addicted to it. And I think with DC, like Green Lantern, when that comes out every month, I'm like, I need to read it. Like I want to read Green Lantern. Superman,
Yeah.
same thing. Like I want more of that.
Absolutely. And that's how it should be read. I mean, totally. Like that's how you should be with these types of comic books, you know. Incredible Hulk, it's just like it started off great, or Hulk, and then it's just like, where are we going with it now? You know,
Even
and
that character, the side character,
Charlie.
she doesn't. She's a monster. And she doesn't do anything. It's just like it's been
Right.
40 something issues, and still, I won't say it's a mystery of her past, but it's like you didn't really do much to go farther with it.
Right, right. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I'm hopeful. There's a handful of books that I'm enjoying from Marvel, and I'm hoping that things will get better. And maybe based off of this whole Doom event, it could set things into motion of things to come for Marvel. Let's keep our fingers crossed.
I hope.
Yep. All right. So, all right. We talked about Superman. We talked about Nightclub. So let's talk about a book that I just said that was actually
Solid.
really good, and that's Deadpool. So
Mhm.
Deadpool is really good. I think
It
Cody
has a
Ziegler.
story. It has a story.
Yeah. And I told you would like this when you
I like
weren't
it.
reading it.
Yeah.
And I think Cody Ziegler's doing a great job with this comic book. He writes a decent Miles Morales book, which I enjoy. And this one is better. And what I think he's doing now is crossing these two books over, I think is great. And the story here with Wade and Ellie, I think is great. I think now they have to fight and they have to be cautious the way they fight because their healing factor is not as good. I like how Taskmaster is a great supporting character here as he's the trainer. We got that dude Doug, who's kind of like the mission guy / YouTube guy, social media. Just all these little things are very interesting. And then what I liked here is that, you know, Wade is sitting there going, Ellie, do you really want to be with me in this mission? Do you really want to, you know, get into this? Because it can get bad at times. And she's like, yeah, no matter what. And then she finds out the mission that's at hand at the very end of it. And it's taking down a person that is very important to the superhero community.
Yeah, and I like that they didn't make Deadpool die for long because that was another thing which again only Deadpool could kind of make fun of. It's just like,
Right.
oh yeah, like he's dead for two issues. This is the reason why. Now he gets to hang out with his daughter and do something really interesting like this. And yeah, no, again, I like that it just feels like a TV show you're kind of tuning into every week, and you're like, oh, cool, this is how the characters are growing. This is the interesting plot that's going on. And like we said, I want more Marvel books to be like this. And I'm not the hugest Deadpool fan. You know, I'm not this not a 5-star book because of that. Like I'm not the biggest Deadpool fan. But imagine if you have this for every character that you're a huge fan for. Like that'd be crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I said it too. Like I'm not a huge Deadpool fan in comics because always his jokes feel forced. It's overdone. It's just, you get frustrated by it. You're kind of like, just shut up. But here, Cody Ziegler, the way he writes him, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, like nothing feels forced. It feels very organic. He makes some subtle jokes. He breaks that fourth wall, but just doesn't overdo it. And it's actually nice. It's actually funny. And he's not the only funny character in this comic book, you know? So, yeah, good stuff. I'm enjoying it a lot. All right, Kat. So, what's your number 4?
It was Deadpool. We already talked about it.
Okay. Mine was Green Lantern. So, we talked about that one. All right. So, now we move on to another book that Brent and I read, and it was DC Power Rise of the Power Company issue 1. Now, I read this just because like there wasn't any other DC books, and I was just like, I need to find out what's going on with this. So this is an anthology book. It's got a few different stories in there that has to do with, you know, like Batman and Signal, and it has to do with some of the characters. Is his name Josiah? I think it is. But it does all tie into kind of like absolute power, how like certain powers went to certain other people, and certain people died in the first story. I thought that one was pretty interesting. There was one story in there that was really good with Cyborg and JoJo Mullins from Green Lantern.
Okay.
They had to go on a mission together to save a crew that was possessed by the villain, by I think his name is Despero, because he's like a mind control person. I thought that story was really good. So overall, it was a decent story. It wasn't bad. I mean, I'm never a fan of anthology books, but again, for a week that was very slow for DC, I thought that this wasn't bad, and I think you should read it. And I like how these stories do tie in on what's going on with DC.
Yeah, and I'm glad that an anthology again goes back to, I think DC's kind of upping their game. It's just like even an anthology could be kind of solid.
Yeah, and they didn't overcharge you for it. I still think it was like $3.99 or something.
Oh wow, that's really
yeah,
good.
It was still affordable book. All right, so you never heard of me. That was the book we talked about before, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so then we just go on to our number 3. So what was your number 3?
Mine was the Seasons issue 1, which is interesting because I don't think this is a perfect first issue, because at first I'm like, it's really slow, but then as you kind of unravel the book, I was like, this is not a great first issue, but this is gonna be a cool series. Like I love like the light and bright, cheery world that our main character lived in, and then she's like talking to her sister, this character. She's like, that shit's gonna happen. Go talk to your sister, and you're like, okay. You're going to see this other world. You're going to get that cool contrast. And I do think it takes a while to get there, but I think it was necessary to show this world. So yeah, I'm kind of sold on it. I want to see where this goes.
I see a lot of people passed up on this book. Mm-hmm. When I showcased it in my hall, said that, I was looking at it, but the artwork wasn't for me. And, I get it. The artwork may not be the best, but again, it's a Rick Remender story. So I was kind of like, I got to try it. I'm like, even though the artwork is not for me. And I was just intrigued by the simplicity of the storytelling of her chasing this.
Very Disney.
I mean, it was like, it was so interesting that way, but yet it does showcase the busy world that we do live in. Right? It's just like you see everybody else going through their shit, and then she's just trying to capture this freaking, this letter. And yeah, I agree. It was like, and the letter was from her sister, and warning her of this, which looks like this crazy circus that comes to town that basically is going to kill everybody. Very, very interesting. I am so curious on where this is going to go, and we still got to get introduced to what is it, winter and spring.
Yeah, and yeah. I think, if I could tell, I think that poster that she passes, I think is her sister, is probably one of the sisters, because they look kind of similar.
And in that first page, Autumn, what is it, Autumn Seasons is their name, is the one that wrote that actual original report on what happened to the town. So yeah, this could be a really good book.
It seems very thoughtful, which I like. Again, it goes back to indies. Just you get like story,
Yeah.
You get a beginning, middle, and end.
Exactly. This did just miss my top 5. I debated about it for a while, so it did just miss it. Okay, so let's see. That was your number 3? Yeah. My number 3 was the Lex Luthor story, Superman Lex Luthor special. Let's see. So now we'll go on to West Coast Avengers issue 3. I like this story. I don't know if you do, but I like this book. I think that it definitely has potential. Maybe if you're not an Ultron fan, this might not be for you, but I did like this book. I am very curious to see the development of this roster. I think that's what I want to see.
I want to see that for sure. That's been my biggest problem, where I'm like, this is just an Iron Man book. And then you look at the creators, and I think it's
Jerry Duggan,
who did Iron Man.
Yeah, who did Iron Man.
So it's just like, it just feels like an Iron Man book. And I'm like, well, I want a West Coast Avengers book. I want to see Spider-Woman. I want to see Firestar. And I think that's and I honestly wasn't going to pick this up, but it was such a small week for me. I was like, all right, I'll give another issue a try. And then I read it and I'm like, oh yeah, no, this continues not to really be for me.
Right. I mean, I liked it. I'm curious to see, like, Spider-Woman had this connection with this woman that became part of the Ultron cult, right? So she's going after her. And then I think you got this story that still needs to be told with Firestar, with her suffering through her PTSD. You got this Blue Bolt character that's, still trying to find his way. I think there's definitely story threads and character threads in here that still need to be developed. I think it might definitely take some time. So I'm going to stick with this book because there is, again, a cast of characters that I find myself interested in. All right. So here is a book that, again, Brant and I would have had a lot of conversation when it comes to some of this stuff. Silverhawks issue 1. This is a book that is an 80s property. It takes place right around when the Thundercats were around.
I was going to say, I don't know what a Silverhawk is, but I did see a lot of people talk about it. So like,
yeah. So they're like, it's like almost like a police force where I would say 100 years ago, they put this guy in jail by the name of Monstar, and they're all set to retire and everything's been peaceful. The town is fine. And then they do this breakout with this Monstar character. And all shit's starting to hit the fan. Well, now all these Silverhawk characters are all super old and they can't fight. So they have to like recruit and build a new team. So decent setup. If you've never read Silverhawks before or never seen the cartoon, you don't need to. This is a good jumping on point. My only issue with this comic is that it's just too cartoony. They try to make it like a cartoon, and I feel like you need to stay away from that. Make it a more serious looking comic book with lots of detail, and I think that book would go way further than maybe what it could be. So, but I'm optimistic that the story will be good. All right. So with that, let's go to number 2. Kat, what's your number 2?
Mine is Green Lantern.
Cool. Mine was Deadpool. And then we go on to, I like how you saved this book last out of all of them. What if Galactus transformed into Spider-Gwen issue 1?
Last, because I don't think a lot of people picked it up. So like, we'll see if anyone read it. I didn't like this. I don't think it was necessary. I didn't like it. I don't know how you felt, but
well, being that I cover a show that talks about nothing but number ones every Thursday, I have literally read every single one of these Galactus books, and it's literally almost the same thing every time. It's like, why are you, you're a herald you're gonna be my herald, and you gotta, save it or take a different planet, and I'll save Earth. Like, it starts that way every single time. And it's kind of like, well, how is this character different? What adventure are they going on? And when it came to this one, it was kind of like they couldn't even complete the story. It was like, hey, let's meet these, Dungeon and Dragon people, and let's see Galactus at the end and fight him. And you can kind of make up the ending of what you want. Do they live? Do they die? Does the planet die? Like, that's basically what it is. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure like story,
the fantasy element was weird. I was like, I thought it was a sci-fi book.
She's kind of like, oh, you can't do this. You can't do this, Galactus. And then he's like, well, then you'll be my Galactus or my herald. And she's kind of like, okay, fine. Oh, I never realized how hard this was going to be. What are you dumb or something? Like, come on, man. I don't know. It's kind of been that way every year. Then you had, last week we had like, I don't know, there's the Rogue one. Then you had a Hulk one, which is freaking way dumb. I didn't like that one. There's the Gambit one. There was one that was halfway decent. I don't even remember what it was though. It's just so funny.
Someone
But
said that they liked Hulk. They said they liked that one.
did they?
Or they said they liked it out of being the worst one. Like, it still sucked, but that was the one they liked the most.
Yeah, it's like, listen, what if books don't need to be the same story every single week? That's just a waste. If you're going to do what if, you got to do different, completely 100% different stories. This is taking the what if series to like a whole new low.
Or at least make it about Spider-Gwen, like make it like more personal to her. And it's like you could throw any character in this issue and it would have been the same.
Oh, yeah, you're 100% right. It could have been anybody. It could have been Magic. It could have been fucking Sunfire. It could have been freaking Jeff the Land Shark. It could have been anybody, right? What if Jeff the Land Shark became Hero of the Galactic? I think I might actually want to read that instead.
Me too.
So, well, yeah, and that's that. So, what was your number one then?
Mine was Lex Luthor.
Okay, cool. Mine was actually the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles book.
Nice.
Which is a shocker. I mean, I couldn't tell you the last time Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was number one on my list.
Even with the new run.
Right. So so that's that. So let's talk about now our most anticipated comic books. And if Marvel makes a train wreck, and then that Jeff book would definitely sell. See? I got something going, man. Marvel should definitely listen to me.
Well, especially because Marvel Rivals is so popular. People love Jeff because of that. So, like, yeah, make another Jeff book. I won't complain.
Yeah, right? All right. So, most anticipated, we'll just run through Brant's real quick. His number 3 is the Star Wars Legacy of Vader, issue 1. And then he's got Absolute Superman, issue 4. Followed by Batman 157, which is the last issue of Chip Zdarsky's run.
Oh, well, yeah, because we don't know Siki over after the Hush sequel.
Yeah, Hush is the next one, and then who knows after that part. So, all right, Kat. So we both have Absolute Superman. Yours is number 3, and mine actually number 1. What makes you excited about Absolute Superman this time?
I like their angle on Superman. I think every issue focuses on something a little different from the character. It's hard because the reason why it's not number 1 for me is like Absolute Batman for me is a better version than Batman that I currently am reading. Superman is so good, like we've been talking about. I'm like, well, I do like the main Superman a little bit more, but I'm still having a fun time with Absolute Superman.
Yeah, last issue of Absolute Superman was really good though. Like they had like Superman's mom in there. She had that super armor and she had that gun. She's trying to rescue her son. It was just like, and the art was so good in it. Like I really liked it. It was a really fun issue. But I'm definitely looking forward to it. Glad you are too. Your number 2 is Batgirl, issue 4. So I am buying Batgirl, but this book is still like, I don't know what to think of it. It's very repetitive in the nature of Lady Shiva's bad. Should I work with Lady Shiva? Am I doing the right thing working with my mom? And then it's like, Lady Shiva's like, Cassandra, you need to work with me. You need to get your head out of your ass. And it's kind of just like, I need a little bit more from the book when it comes to plot wise.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. But I also just like seeing Cassandra's voice. I like the art and I like the internal dialogue, but I am curious, like once issue 10 comes around and you're doing the same thing. Yeah, I don't know where that goes. But right now I'm having a good time with it. Also, I'm only getting 7 books. So I don't know if this would have been my top 3, but not getting a lot.
Like issue 1 was okay, and then issue 2 was the really good issue. And then issue 3, I felt like it took a step back. So now I'm like, okay, well, what's issue 4 going to have? So, my number 2 is The Ultimate. This is issue 9.
Now you like this one. Oh.
That could be fun.
I think you paused a little bit on my side, but
yeah, I said that you get introduced to Luke Cage in this issue. Yeah.
I know Luke Cage has his Timeless book, so we'll see what that's about. Someone did ask, are you guys excited for Rockefellers? I did drop that one. Are you still reading it?
Yeah, I'm not dropping it. I feel like the book still needs time to develop, and those characters need to develop. They had a Christmas issue, which I thought was really good.
Oh.
So I was putting away all my comic books today. Like I literally put away every single book I own except for these 5 right here.
Mm-hmm.
And I have so many Ghost Machine books that I wound up just making a straight up short box of just Ghost Machine titles. Yeah. So they get their own special box now, along with Spawn. So cool stuff. And then I think your number one is your Snot Girl book.
Yeah, it's the one book I'm like really, really looking forward to. Obviously, like I love Snot Girl. This issue in particular, I think is going to be dealing with the whole "you outed me" to my mom. Now we got to go see her. I think because we didn't get it last issue, so I'm guessing it's going to be this issue. And I love it. It's so great, and I probably could tell you that's most likely going to be my pick of the week.
That's funny. And I didn't do my number 3, but my number 3 is The Sacrificers issue 14. Speaking of Rick Remender, another Rick Remender book. Book always has a ton of emotion. Can't help but feel for some of the characters in this comic and what happens to them and how, things have flipped. Just an overall great book, and I'm really excited for it.
Cool. Yeah. I would say some good books coming out. We'll see next week how it plays out. But again, I'm looking forward to things to going to normal. Maybe next week we'll do like a topic type thing to, fill the void of the smaller haul. But again, I know you and Brand have a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, 14 books is not the biggest week for me. I think actually, I don't know. I mean, I did read a lot of indies this week and Marvel books, so it could be around the same, but
yeah,
it's not bad when I have a competition weekend when it comes to my daughter dancing and only 14 books. Like I can knock that out, probably most of that by the end of the week. So definitely still looking forward to reading them though. So and I guess that's it. I guess we're done. I mean, that was quick, man. We burned through that real fast.
Yeah, and I guess Brand's not coming on now.
Yeah, right. Watch him come on in the last 30 seconds. Hey guys, I'm on, and we'd be like, "Sorry, Brant, we're done." But yeah, Brant was all on board. Yeah, he was ready to come on. So just as unexpected for you as it is for us. I mean, we didn't know that he wasn't going to come on. So, but we'll definitely be on next week. We'll talk about next week's books, and I think the week after, I think we got a pretty hefty comic book week. There's a lot of great comic books getting ready to hit the shelves that week, and hopefully the year will start to pick up because I feel like the first month of the year when it comes to comic books have been very, very slow and very lackluster for the most part. So hopefully things definitely will pick up for sure. And with that being said, we will sign off for the evening. Thank you guys so much for watching the show tonight. And remember, if you haven't subscribed to any of our channels yet, what are you waiting for? Check out Comic Book Corner 2.0. Check out Kat at Comic Uno. You can check out Brant's Only Good Comics. Subscribe to those channels. And again, don't forget to hit the bell. Follow us. And as always, guys, thank you so much. Have a great new comic book day. Hopefully you find everything that you're looking for. And we will see you all next week. Guys, good night. Thank you.
Bye.